Okay. So how would you turn it into an advice or actionable item?
We should always be aware of Yawm al-Qiyamah, because at any moment we could just go to sleep and then we'll wake up, and that's will be it.
Okay, very good, right? So when you are wrapping up your day and you go to bed, you don't know what state you'll be waking up in, right? Would it be in the grave of this world? Very powerful. Beautiful. Okay.
Can I add to that?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe trying to be as efficient with your time while you are here as you can. Fulfilling your responsibilities as well as fulfilling your worship and contemplation and Quran and everything.
Yeah, making use of the time while you have it. Good. Jazakallah khair. Okay, so let's begin inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وتحسبهم أيقاظا وهم رقود ونقلبهم ذات اليمين وذات الشمال وكلبهم باسط ذراعيه بالوصيد لو اطلعت عليهم لوليت منهم فرارا ولملئت منهم رعبا وكذلك بعثناهم ليتساءلوا بينهم قال قائل منهم كم لبثتم قالوا لبثنا يوما أو بعض يوم قالوا ربكم أعلم بما لبثتم فابعثوا أحدكم بورقكم هذه إلى المدينة فلينظر أيها أزكى طعاما فليأتكم برزق منه وليتلطف ولا يشعرن بكم أحدا إنهم إن يظهروا عليكم يرجموكم أو يعيدوكم في ملتهم ولن تفلحوا إذا أبدا وكذلك أعثرنا عليهم ليعلموا أن وعد الله حق وأن الساعة لا ريب فيها إذ يتنازعون بينهم أمرهم فقالوا ابنوا عليهم بنيانا قال الذين ربهم أعلم بهم قال الذين غلبوا على أمرهم لنتخذن عليهم مسجدا. Okay, let's do that word by word, and that's to facilitate that vocab that we were talking about. 18. Here you go. Okay, so everybody please speak up. وَتَحْسَبُهُمْ. And translation, think them. Okay, so see, and is coming from wow, and the last hum is for them. And then you have the verb patterns, which we saw last time, right? So the ta in the beginning is for you, and the ha, sin, ba is the root of the word. So وَتَحْسَبُهُمْ, you would think them, أَيْقَاظًا, so that's a new word, we haven't seen that before, which means awake. وَهُمْ رُقُود, sleep. Okay, so these are two new words, right? So if you add them to your vocabulary, then you will see them happening. So the way to do that would be to repeat a few times when you're working on that verse for the day. وَنُقَلِّبُهُمْ. See, it's the same pattern, right? So now here it's noon for we. Okay, there was ta for you. So the doer is we in this scenario. The middle part of the root is qaf lam beam, which is returning. It's also used for heart, as heart also turns and changes. And whom is they. So we were turning them. That al yamini. Okay, wa that al shimali. Okay, so that is the direction, and then yamin and shimal is for left and right. Wa kalbuhum. While your dog, right? So again, that's a noun, right? It's not a verb sentence. It's a noun. Kalb is a dog. Hum, their dog. Basitun. Okay, so what was stretch? ذراعيه. So the his is coming from he. So remember we saw that pronoun chart earlier, attached pronoun. So he is for he. So this is obviously talking about whose four legs? The dog's four legs, right? Bil wasid. Okay. Lavit. So law if. So that's a very common word. So you should pick it up very soon. Law if, right? Ittala'ta. Okay, so this is from, the ta is for you, okay? And the verb is ta lam ayn. It's coming from ta lam ayn, which is the tulu', right? So tulu' ash-shams, you may have seen that. That is to rise. And then, so rising and looking, so ittala'ta, you had looked. Alayhim, upon them. Lawallayta. Okay, so here we have a few things here, right? So the ta at the end is the pronoun, right? As you see blue, it also says pronoun. And then the waw, lam, ya is the main root of the verb, and that is to turn or turn back. And this first la, as it says emphasis, so that's for emphasizing surely. Okay, so this is lam of tawqeed, lam to emphasize the certainty of something. Is that clear? So this is something you will see a lot. And that's also an indication that, look, if you were to stretch this lam, if you were to say la, it becomes no. So that's why it's very important to not overstretch things when you're reciting the Quran. So lawallayta, surely you would have turned back. Clear? Minhum, from them. So it's straightforward. We have seen this pattern several times. Firara, in flight. Wala mulita. Okay, so now here, see the only new thing is the new verb, which is mim, lam, hamza. The first la is again for ta'keed, for emphasis, and the ta at the end is for you, and waw is something and we have seen several times now. Minhum, again, same pattern. Ru'ba, terror. So there's a few new words, few new root words that have come here. But, you know, as you say, if you just take one verse a day, you'll be adding it to your vocabulary, and then you will see it coming up again and again, inshallah. Okay, continuing on. وَكَذَلِكَ. Similarly, بَعَثْنَاهُمْ. Okay, so ba'ain tha for the verb, nun alif for the doer, and hum is the one who is being raised. Ba'athna-hum. Okay, liyatasa'alu. Okay, where is everybody else? Like there's more people, but very less sounds. Okay, so now you're seeing another form of the lam, and this one is lam kasra. Li, that is for the purpose. Okay, for the purpose, and this is the same as when we say, you know, I think it came earlier. What was that? Alhamdulillahi, right? So for Allah, that's the same lam kasra. Liyatasa'alu. So that's the verb is to ask. Now this ya is for them, like it's talking about third person. So they will ask, and waw is for plural. So ya and waw is giving you the meaning of plural, and it's turning into a they, so that they may ask. Clear? If not, please say, I'll repeat it. Okay. Bainahum, among them. Qala, qailun. So see, now you're seeing this verb and you're changing it into, so if fa'ala is the verb, then fa'il means the doer of that verb. Okay, so khalaqa is the verb, then khaliq is the one who creates. Khalaqa, he created. Khaliq is the one who creates. So similar pattern. Qala, qail. Yes? Okay. Minhum. Come. How long? Labithtum. Qalu. Okay, so this is simple, right? Qala, he said. Qalu, they said. Wow, you add a wow, it becomes plural. Labithna, we have remained. So see, now it's same thing, right? Kam labithtum, labithna, it's just changing the pronouns. Yawman, okay, that's not a new word. Maliki yawmiddin. So same word, which is just changing the ending haraka. Yawman aw ba'da yawm. Qalu, they said, Rabbukum. Okay, so who remembers we talked about three things that are embedded or included in the word Rabb? Who remembers? Yes.
The creator, the continuous owner, and fully in charge.
Yes. Creator, continuous owner, and fully in charge. Right. So all these things are included in the word or in the attribute of being Rabb. A'lamu, knows best. Same pattern as akbar. Right. That's superlative degree. A'lamu from ilm, and then you made it a'lam form like akbar form. Okay. A'lamu, knows best. Bima, how long? Labithtum. Okay, so if you get labith, lam, bathi, batha, then you have all these different variation with different pronouns attached or suffixed or prefixed. Faba'athu. Okay, now here I want to show you something. One is this. What is this waw for? Plural. Okay, waw is for plural. Okay. This is something we saw in the verb chart, and we'll keep coming in, so we'll get used to it. So sometimes you'll just see waw, and sometimes you'll see waw noon. So that's for plural. Now, the other thing that's happening here is that, look at what they say here. Imperative verb. So which means that it's a command. Okay, it's a command. In Arabic, they say failed Amar. Okay, so see, before you had one form, which was labithna, right? So we have remained. Labithtum, have you remained? Okay, you have remained. Ba'athnahum, we raised them. Okay, so these are all different forms. Now, when you turn it into a command or request form, then it becomes like this: ib'athu, fab'athu. So that's something also to be aware of, that you will see this pattern of command. Let me quickly show you while we're at it. Not this one. Here. Okay, so you saw that. See, this is how they are doing, right? So, for example, let's pick fataha, right? So you have if yaftahu, iftah is the command, open. Okay, so similarly, ib'athu is they are asking someone to do it, and it can be used as command, or it can also be used as request, depending on who is talking to whom. Obviously, if you're talking to someone in a higher authority, then it will mean request, not a command. But you will use the same form. And the word that I was showing you earlier, the fa'il pattern. So fatih is the one who opens. Nasir is the one who helps, the helper. Darib is the one who strikes or hits. Sami' is the one who is a listener. So this is the same pattern. Once you see the root letters, then you will be able to see that, okay, this pattern means that it's the doer of that action. Will come with practice. Oh, where did I go? Okay, so فَبْعَثُوا أَحَدَكُمْ. Ahada, one, kum, you all. So one of you, بِوَرِقِكُمْ. Okay, هذه, this. So هذا, this, and هذه is the female version of that, or feminine version of that. So these silver coins, إلى المدينة, the city, فلينظر. Okay, so this is also a command. Okay, command, فَلْيَنْظُرْ, or a request, if they were peers, if you want to think it like that. So this lam sakin is for that, right? So in a command format, what happens is that you have this lam sakin, and then you also have this ra sakin. So you don't have yanzuru, it becomes a sakin. So فَلْيَنْظُرْ. So Okay, فَلْيَنْظُرْ similar to إِبْعَثُوا. Okay, so if you don't understand, just raise your hand and say what you're talking about. We'll just explain in a different way. Okay, otherwise I don't know if you are getting it or not. Yes. Okay, great. Set it up myself for failure. No, this is good. I don't know, right? So my job is to make sure that you are comfortable, you understand. That's why I'm saying I'll also be here after Aisha so we can work on it. Because that's the goal, that you should become better. So look, when we are saying that we are analyzing verbs, okay, let's go back to this chart. Okay, so when it comes to verb, okay, these are the things that you need to think about. I mean, so there's this thing of, is it a past tense verb or is it a future tense verb? Okay, you can think about that distinction. I don't think that matters a lot when you're just trying to understand the Quran at a basic level, because it will be obvious based on the context of the sentence. However, just from an Arabic perspective, this is what happens, right? So let's focus on fataha, right? So when it's past tense, it's just straight up fataha, okay? And when it's a future or present tense, then you will have a prefix to denote the doer of the action, okay? So in this case, the doer of the action is he. How do I know it's he? Because of the ya, okay? The other attachments are given to you over here. So as you can see, when it comes to past tense, there's no prefix. Everything is a suffix. Everybody agrees with that statement? So here you have vav as a suffix to denote they. Then you have a ta as a suffix to denote you. Then you have a tu as a suffix to denote I. Then you have tum as a suffix to denote you all. And you have a na as a suffix to denote we. And then you have ta sakin for she. Is that clear so far? Okay. Now the other thing that happens is for future tense, you have both. You will have a prefix and a suffix. So the prefix and the suffix are, so ya for the he, ya and waw noon for they, ta for you, a hamza alif for hamza fatha for I, and then ta waw noon for you all, noon for we, and ta also for female or for feminine. So far so good? I'm asking. If it's not, just raise your hand. Nobody will come and bite you. Okay? All right. Now the second thing becomes like, okay, so I understand this. So which means, look, if you have, they've given you 5 examples or 4, like fataha, nasara, daraba, and samia. Okay? So now you can understand, and if you wanted to practice, you can actually practice it on that chart. You can make all different forms. Now the question becomes, okay, so in English, let's say, if you might say he is eating, right? And you want to make it a request or command, what would you say? Eat. Or you might say, please eat, right? Drink, please drink. So this is how you do it in the Arabic language, is that you add this, you'll add a hamza with either a kasra or a dhamma. Okay, as you see the examples here. If'al, iftah, unsur, idrib, isma'. So that's the general rule. There may be some other forms that we might talk about later. So that's how you turn the verb into a command or a request. Okay, that's clear? And then the other thing that we have seen today is how do you make, like for example, if the verb is teach, right? So you have teacher in English language. So how do you make it into to represent the doer of that action? So this is how it's done. Fatih, Nasir, Darib, Sami'. So what you are seeing here is they take the first root letter, Fa, Noon, Lad, Sin in this case. You add an alif to it, and then you have the other 2 root letters. Okay? Now while we're at it, let's talk about the object as well. So the one who is being affected by the action is pretty simple. What you will have is, you will start it with a meme, and then you will add a waw, and then you will have the root letters in the middle, right? So maftuh is the thing that got opened. The door, if that was open, we'll call it maftuh, right? Or mansur, the one who was helped. Madrub, the one who was hit. Masmu', the one who was listened to. And these will keep repeating. So now if we go here on what we were looking at, So فَلْيَنْظُرْ. Okay. So this is another way of making it into a command form. So with a lam sakin, and then you said yanzur. Okay. So now that's not the pattern that we saw in the basic chart, but that's another way of making it, right? So as you start seeing those patterns, that you will see, okay, that this is how you make imperative. I guess that's what I can say without going into that form. Let's see if they're giving anything else here. So this, the way they're doing it is that they're using what's called lam of Amar, which is the lam of command. So which is usually a lam sakin. Clear? Okay. Ayyuha, which is, right? So before you had ayyukum. Did we have ayyukum? Okay, from somewhere else. Well, it's in Surat al-Mulk, right? Ayyukum ahsanu amala. So there says here you have ayyuha, which is azka, the purest, right? Same pattern. Akbar, a'lam, azka, from zakah, right? Purest. Ta'aman, food. Okay, again, imperative, right? With a lam sakin, right? Falyati, let him bring to you all. So kum is the object here, right? Falyatikum, let him bring to you all. So this is again in the command or request form. What should you bring? Birizkim, provision, minhu, from it. Okay? So see the pattern again. Wal yatalattaf. Is it a command? Is it a past tense verb or future tense verb? Command. So two things are giving you it's a command. One is a lam sakin, and the other thing that's giving you it's a command is the last letter is also sakin. Okay, that's another way of making it an imperative into a command. When we were seeing here, all the last letter had haraka. Where is it? See, otherwise the last letter always had haraka. Yaftahu, yansuru, yadribu, yasma'u. And here you can see the last letter, when you make it into command, it had the sukun. Okay. Okay, وَلْيَتَلَطَّفْ, let him be cautious, let him be discreet, let him be careful, subtle. Wala. Okay, so this is lam alif, right? If it was just like lam fatha, that's for surely, as we have seen. Yush'iranna. Okay, so see the ya is coming at the beginning, right? So if ya is coming at the beginning, that's for future and present. So and the root letters are sheen, ayn, or ra. What is this nun mushaddad? That's another thing for emphasis. So one thing we have seen for emphasis is the lam fatha. That's another thing that's used for emphasis, which is the nun mushaddad. Yush'iranna. Let him definitely be very careful to not let this happen. Okay, so here it says emphatic suffix nun. So that when you see this nun mushaddad, that's what it's indicating. Bikum, about you. Ahada, anyone. Innahum, indeed they. So inna is another way of emphasis. So you have nun mushaddad, you have inna, you have lam fatha. Okay, in, if. Yadharu, they come to know. So dhahara, to become apparent. Ya for the third person, waw for the plural. So that's what's making it they. Alaykum, upon you all. Yarjumukum. So they is coming from ya and waw. Okay, yarjumukum, they will stone you. Aw yu'idukum, they will return you. Fi millatihim, to the religion. Walan, and never. Tuflihu. Okay, from falah, fa lam ha, hayya alal falah, right? Same word, same roots. Idhan, then abada. Okay, and we did 21 too, right? Did we did 21? Yeah. وَكَذَلِكَ, And likewise, so this has come before, أَعْثَرْنَا مَنُونَ عَلَيْهِمْ لِيَعْلَمُوا. Okay, so this should be something you should be able to get, right? So lam kasra, we already talked about, is for the reason, the purpose. And then you have ilm, ayn, lam, mim, and then ya and waw for they, so that they may know. Anna wa'adallahi haq. Anna, that wa'adallahi, the promise of Allah. So that's the structure, very common structure. Wa'adallahi, Rasulullahi, Abdullahi. So noun of the next noun. Okay, wa'adallahi, promise of Allah. Haqqun, true. Wa anna, and that as-sa'ata, the hour, la rayba fiha. Okay, so what is the ha here? The female, right? The feminine pronoun. Okay, what is this pointing to? Asa. So asa is a feminine noun or a masculine noun? Feminine. We know this from two reasons. Well, I mean, even if you don't know, like, it's not going to really hurt your understanding at the basic level, but just letting you know, because of the ha. Okay, and then also usually you would see this what's called ta marbuta. So it's a ta which is wrapped up, right? So usually ta is flat, it's wrapped up, so that's what's used for feminine. Okay, now when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِي, he, because it's pointing to the kitab, which is a masculine noun. إِذْ يَتَنَازَعُونَ. Okay, so tanaza, from the ya is for the third person, waw nun is for plural, nun, za, ayn is the root letters, bainahum, amrahum, their affair, faqalu, you've done that, ubnu. What is this? Command. Good. Alayhim, upon them, bunyana. So interesting. So see, ubnu, to build, bunyanan, the structure that is built. Rabbuhum, their Lord, okay, creator, continuous owner, in charge of all affairs. A'lamu, akbaru, we saw that earlier, bihim, about them. Qala alladhina, who said alladhina ghalabu, those who prevailed, ala, upon, amrihim, lanattakhidanna. Okay, so here you have two emphases, right? La and then nun mushaddad. Sure, we'll definitely do this. What? Alayhim, upon them. Masjida. Okay, so place where the sujood is performed, or where Allah is worship, or place of worship. All right. Okay, let's share some of my reflection, inshallah, with you guys using the same pattern that we have talked about earlier. Okay, so what stands out to me is that if I'm advising myself or somebody else, is that look, sometimes we focus a lot on the means, but if Allah wants something to happen, He will create the means. We have to do our part, right? Sometimes we can only do a few steps, like as these guys, they were only able to escape, so you escape. Okay, but Allah will make the asbab, Allah will make the means, Allah will bring things together, as you see some of the details here. So one is Allah has set up the environment in a way that if people were to discover them, they will be scared, they will be filled with ru'b, okay, and that will drive them away. So that's a condition of the heart, okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can change hearts, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can create scenarios and environments and effects that can fill your enemy with ru'b, okay. So that's one. Second thing is, if we feel not to have the courage to do the right thing, or not to have the patience and so on and so forth, is to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the right heart and the right qualities in our heart, because that's in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for the details, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is physically turning them, protecting their bodies, So there are details that people, scholars and doctors would say that, okay, look, even if someone isn't hospitalized, may Allah protect us all from it, the nurses would come and turn them around to have that blood circulation going and so on and so forth. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created those physical effects to preserve the bodies and blood circulation, or whatever you want to call, and also created the environment to protect them from their enemies. So that's one, right? So trusting in Allah, the power of Allah, and how Allah can make things happen. Okay. So here's another thing. So one thing I said that, look, reflection is really, really important. Okay? But you don't want to read into reflections and come up with something that you have never heard. Okay, that would be very dangerous. So someone will come, oh, okay, so these guys, okay, are these guys that Allah is praising or dispraising? Praising. So they had dog. Okay, so that means I can also have a dog in my home. Okay, so we don't want to do that. Okay, whether it's right or wrong doesn't matter. The point is that you don't want to do that. You don't want to come up with what's halal and what's haram just by looking at the verse. Okay, because you may be coming into wrong conclusion. This verse is not how you drive the ruling of halal and haram. If it's a question that you're wondering about, then you go to a trusted scholar, you ask, okay, what is the ruling of dog? What can I do with the dog? What can I not do with the dog? And the scholar will either give you the ruling, or if you're interested, he or she can explain to you where the ruling is coming from and what are details. But you just don't look at one verse and make some connection and say, oh yeah, I can have a dog. These guys had one, why not? Okay. Okay, so the next thing is about the same thing. Like, sometimes you spend too much time discussing something that may not be worthy. I think most of you did mention that, right? In terms of how long did you stay and so on and so forth. And realizing that, some knowledge is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will not be able to know everything. And we have to prioritize what we put in our effort into finding out. Okay, sometimes you see people have questions and they're just looking at things that does not matter, or they may spend like huge amount of time just talking about things that don't matter, they're not of significance, and nobody has that knowledge. It's matters of ghaib and so on and so forth. The second thing here obviously is to eat good food, healthy food, taking care of what we eat, how much we eat, and so on and so forth. And then the last thing is how careful they are to prevent themselves from falling into fitna, right? As they did the first time, they escaped, right? And they said, look, there's going to be two things. One is, if they catch you, they will then basically torment you, they will torture you, they will punish you, and then you may be able to tolerate, you may not be able to tolerate, so you just don't go and take that extra burden on yourself. Or what may happen is, you may turn into them. You may just assimilate, you may just become like them, you may give up. And if you do that, then what's the point? What will happen? Then you will not be successful. وَلَن تُفْلِحُوا إِذًا أَبَدًا. So that's one of the things we also talked about last time, the importance of company, the people that you are hanging out with, because you will have the right reminder. So they are reminding each other, look, we can't let this happen. If we leave the deen, then we will never be successful. So you need those type of people around you that will remind you like that, and not like, it's okay, what can you do? The whole country or the whole system is against you. So let's just blend in. Okay, let's take a few minutes, inshallah, then we'll continue. Okay. Yes, so the importance of having the right friends that can remind you to stay on the haqq. Okay, so after that, so the first thing is the point of that the promises of Allah are true, they will happen. Okay, so if Allah has promised anything, no matter how unlikely, how hard it may seem, it will happen. So question would be, which promise of Allah am I not cautious about? Right? Am I forgetting? So one promise of Allah is that you ask Allah, Allah will respond to your dua. So if I quit asking Allah, that means I'm becoming negligent of a promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I should continue to ask whatever I'm asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, the promise of Allah, like la in shakartum la azidannakum. If I want more, I have to be grateful of what Allah has given me from my heart, from my tongue, as well as utilizing what Allah has given me properly and appropriately, and Allah will increase me. So that's a reminder, which promise of Allah am I becoming negligent about? So obviously this was in connection with the point that Allah was showing this as a sign that if Allah can resurrect people after that long and put them into the sleep, that's a sign of the capability or ability of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to resurrect all of us on the day of judgment. Okay, and then that's also a reminder to think about the day of judgment, right? Sometimes we're only thinking about today and tomorrow, whatever appointments, deadlines, meetings are coming up for this week, end of week, but we forget about the meeting on the day of judgment. So that, and there's no doubt about it, that hour will come, that meeting will happen, and so on and so forth. Now, here's another thing that happens, right? So some people who basically overpowered or had authority, they decided that these people, when they were discovered, the people of the cave, we will build a masjid over them on that place, and we'll take it as a reminder, and we'll use it as a masjid for us. Okay, so same thing that I mentioned about with the dog example. If someone were to come and say, you know what, it's a good quality, it's a good thing to develop or to build masjid on a grave. Okay, so again, same thing, like right or wrong doesn't matter. The point is, don't walk away with ahkam by making this connection. Don't walk away with halal or haram just by making connection of something being mentioned in one place. Does that make sense? Okay, so obviously when you go, you'll see there are explicit hadith that actually tells us not to do that. But that's beyond the point. The point is for reflection, for tadabbur, you should be using it as a reminder not to drive new ahkam. Be really careful about it. And there are people who actually use that as an argument. Okay, so sometimes the people have like really weird arguments, and they're like, okay, Allah mentions it, so that means I can do it, and so on and so forth. Okay, good. Yes, I think that's about it from my reflections. Any other comments, questions, concerns, thoughts? What time is it? Okay, so we have good 10 minutes before Aisha. I think we can take the 5 minutes to, anyone is willing to just be tested. So I just want to know, like, if people are actually building their vocabulary, what's happening. Like, there should be like at least one verse that you have mastered now, right? This is like what, 4th session? So everybody should have like learned a few words, at least one word that, you know, I get it. Like you can ask me grammar, words, verb, root letters, whatever. I got this. Oh, you already speak Arabic, so.
Yeah, no, I speak Arabic and English, but I prefer Arabic than English in the Islamic sense. But
Yes.
in the other things, I prefer English.
Okay.
I speak both languages.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. So you didn't have to work on the vocabulary. I want someone who has actually worked on it to see like if it's working or not. Okay, so let's use the 5 minutes to pick up one verse. Okay, I'll come back after Isha. Hopefully I can test some of you, or if you have any question, if you struggle with something, maybe we can find a way to help, inshallah. Because that's the goal, right? If you're not hitting the marks, then I am responsible. I'm willing to put in more effort, change the style, change the content, so that, over time, inshallah, by Ramadan, you should be able to understand more Quran. Otherwise, it's still beneficial. We are still reflecting on Quran, but we also want to achieve that technical part, right? The ability to understand. And this way, one of the things that can happen is, so one thing that happened among my friends is someone said that I went for Fajr, and after Fajr, there was a reminder. Okay? But that made me think, well, what about the reminder in the Fajr? Right? So obviously you heard 10 minutes of Quran and what have you. There has to be something, at least like a one-liner that you can walk away with, and that becomes your message of the day, if you will. So we want to get to a stage that we are able to at least pick up some of those things, and then that becomes our message from the Salah instead of waiting for a reminder after the Salah. Okay, so subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Let's take 3 minutes, work on something, and we go take for Isha. I'll come back. Whoever wants to be here, practice, ask questions, whatever, I'm here. If not, then. And also you can use that for community time, build up, hang out with people, talk, chat, drink coffee or tea or decaf or whatever. Okay, jazakallah khair. Bye. Okay, so this is yours. Oh. We were able to do live?
Yeah, we were able to do it
Okay.
live.
So yes.